Jan Gloom, written out of despair of Nashville in late January, early February, and depressing rain.
Quite literally a gloom. Nashville sucked.
It was.
The weather.
I had a great time for the record. I love Nashville.
I mean, we had a blast. Don't get me wrong. We had a very good time, but the weather was not fun. I hadn't really experienced the lows of like actual seasonal depression before, and I was very much struggling with it that year. And this song was kind of born of that, the idea of like finding your safety and your escape from something that you have literally zero control over. And I love this song so much because I think for All Time Low, it's just a very interesting bunch of ideas smashed into one. I absolutely love the opening riff of this song. I love that somehow it goes from sort of that full-time, almost a groove feel to a big, airy, lofty, anthemic halftime chorus. And yeah, it's a fun one.
It's a very swaggy verse is what I'd say.
Lyrically, I could see you. I wasn't there, but I could see you writing this song, and I don't know. It's definitely
pulling his hair out.
I got these new boots. I got a leather jacket.
I think it was the second one we did with Savini, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It really kind of defined the rest of that trip as well, I think. Like, I think we did Melancholy first and then went into this one.
Yeah.
Just kind of taking the elements that we kind of learned about each other from that first one into this one, just really kind of developed and grew.
This song also features one of my favorite moments on the whole record because I enjoy when All Time Low gets to riff a little bit. And there's some good riffs on this record across the board. Like that moment in Sleeping In that I talked about is one of my favorites that we've ever written as a band. The opening riff to Melancholy Kaleidoscope, and then the call and response riff in this song in verse 2 that is like playing off of the vocal melody. I think it's a really nice like change in verse 2 to kind of give you some new information, but not throw you off the lyric and the melody in general. One of my favorite things we've put on a song.
It's very Nashville move too, to fill those like those verse gaps with little guitar licks.
It reminds me of the chorus of Disaster, how you do that in Disaster as well.
Yeah. I would say it's funny, like we've said this before, but all of the songs that came from the Nashville sessions definitely have some I don't know, country Nashville.
Hot chicken spices.
Americana.
A little of that flavor.
A little bit of that Southern spice. So yeah, I mean, if right now I'd love to just listen to those the call and response lines if that's cool.
Taste the licks.
And it's got if we go back, it's like it's got such a like that Genesis sort of like 80s small room reverb. It very much reminds me of like I Can't Dance and
Echo
like
Boy
that.
Jr.
Yeah.
It's just kind of it's not something that All Time Low's really done before, and it's a fun sound. So yeah, I mean, if we could just listen to that whole verse, it's like just one of my favorite.
Another chopper Hudson in the dark to lift these spirits. Another record spins my heavy heart and flips the script. It's a crazy way to turn this life around.
That was a fun feel in the studio. Kind of improvised. Go over the bar.
Yeah, you're right. I guess we'd usually, instead of those kind of guitar licks, we'd probably usually rely on a delay throw there.
Yeah, delay throw,
vocal.
like a vocal melody or something like that. And it was an unusual and different move for us, not something that we typically instinctively go for.
And that little tremolo thing I think you have pulled up right here, that guitar that comes in a little bit through that verse is really sick too.
This is kind of weird. It's like a guitar layered with some kind of keys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the walking. That's the sickest thing.
That's nice.
It sounds like the intro to a fucking Netflix show. Can we play that in reference to the song, actually?
I was going to say, what I love about moments like that on an album, that thing that we just soloed out right there, already, I'm like thinking of how in a live setting you could build out this really cool atmospheric moment as like an intro to a song, like something like that. This thing that is kind of buried in the midst of a song that you don't really pay a ton of attention to can very easily then be transcribed and translated into a live setting and sort of like built into this whole thing that,
Yep.
that could get us into this song.
Intro
That's where
sequence.
my brain just went then.
Bigger and bigger, and then it stops, and you just get.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. There's a really cool moment for when I first heard a song. I like these kind of songs for bass because there's a lot of room to play with. And the chorus going into the bridge, the bass follows the melody pretty much the entire time, which gives it this really cool moment together, which is not really typical you hear on bass, but it's like a very cool like way to like have bass in a song with like, usually you would play the root note in these kinds of songs just because there is so much space. You don't want to take away from it, but
Mhm.
Do chorus two.
yeah,
second
just
half-ish.
the end,
Check it
yeah.
out.
You like the sunshine in the lazy days of June, hiding in your room. Save me from this January gloom.
That's so sick, yeah. And it gets you the bridge perfectly.
That's
And
nice.
it
Another
keeps going into that melody as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Another funny kind of anecdote about this song is we deliberated over the pre-chorus for so long. Like almost,
Yeah.
I want to say almost down to the final mixes. And
I was gonna say definitely through to Palm Desert. Like this,
yeah,
you were re-recording these pre's.
it genuinely came down to, I think me and Cervini, maybe day like that the songs had to be turned in for mastering. I think I was still texting Zach being like, I don't know, man. What do you think? Which one is it?
Yeah, you were in
Servini-
Australia.
Cervini's response is, "It's a fucking pre-chorus, man. It's one bar." Like,
There was the like. So what it came down to was there was the blame it on the weather, can't keep it together. Blame it on the weather, can you make it better? Which is what's in the song now. And there was also this sort of like this other melodic thing, and it was what I did the first time. It was this sort of like when my heart feels like a frozen river.
yeah,
And like melodically, I really loved it, but I did not like the fact that the lyrical content just didn't really serve the song. And I think what it came down to ultimately was like the pre-chorus that we went with was the one that served the narrative the best. And sometimes in songwriting, like you have to make those interesting calls where it's like, yeah, this was what your gut said melodically, but it just doesn't serve the song. In
zoom
any-
out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of pulls you out of the moment where this one really gets you into the chorus and you understand what's being said.
Another lyrical part about this song that's kind of funny was we would often go to this bar called Mickey's here in Nashville at the end of the night, and there was a time that
yeah.
that I like showed up to the bar and I was wearing a jacket, and Alex like put his hands inside my jacket and felt like, I guess my lats is what it was, and he goes, "Ooh, there you are." And then like I think it was like 2 days later, he just kept saying it every time he'd see me, like, "Ooh, there you are." And then in the bridge lyric, he threw it in there. He's like, "There you." What is the lyric?
There you are, and there you were.
Yeah. He's like, "I got it in the song."
That whole lyric for the bridge was 100%
It's about Ryan's
inspired
lats.
by me touching on
It's
Ryan.
so good.
There you are.
It's
That's really
like,
funny.
So,
There you are, Peter.
oh, there you
You
are.
are Peter.
And
How'd
that
you
made
have
it,
that
that made
ready?
it into the song. Sometimes it's those little moments with your best friends that.
Also, though, a great bridge, very powerful bridge.
Yeah, very powerful bridge.
This one's a fun one.
I remember the plinks, the chorus plinks.
That's what I was when you said earlier, and I was like, one of my favorite parts about this song is that little Nord bling bong, and like we couldn't
I
get
can't
those right
remember whether
either.
it was. I think we couldn't get it right because it was me trying to do it, and I don't know how a keyboard works. So it would get to it, and we were kind of. Whereas you'd usually like, do these things and nudge them around and stuff, we were kind of just sat there, and I'd be like, okay, let's try this one. It took so long to get it right. I think we ended up.
Are they
MIDI-ing it.
called plucks on the session?
Yeah,
Probably,
that's
yeah.
them. Yeah.
And it's such a nice little tiny detail in the chorus that gives it a really hooky feel. And yeah, we moved them into several different places as to where they fell on the beat. So there was sometimes it was hitting on the up, sometimes it hit on the down.
There was a time that like I sent you a voice memo, and I was like, bing bong, and I was like, but in the key of the song.
Yes, Ryan.
Should we play them?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
low,
nice
low
sound.
context.
So can you save me
So they were supposed to
January gloom, hiding in your room.
the idea was to always have them fall between the vocals, but
Like that
how
second
they
verse
fell-
lick.
How they fell was sort of always a point of contention and like a something that we were like deliberating over forever. We ended up going with the ones that are more off. But I think it actually ended up being a hybrid because the third one, the bum bum, that one resolves.
That's what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a hybrid of all of the ideas that we had about them.
I tend to always put like in every record, there's one on like any kind of like soaring open choruses we have. I always try to throw like a cool little triplet fill into it.
Yeah.
And this one, chorus 3, to get us around. I don't know if it's into the outro. I think it is, but there's a nice little fill that I can toot my own self with. There it is. I see it.
Hey, toot yourself, right?
Dude, it.
yourself.
Oh, does it go like slow? It's to lead into the halftime bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. It like slows down with it.
Mhm.
Probably. Oh, that's not it.
Oh, shoot. Oh, no, right.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah,
fill.
it's nice.
Bass probably does
Very
something
good.
fun with me there.
Yeah, what we got, Scott?
Once again, that's just a rhythm section having a good time.
Hey, you have a cigarette? I'll get you the sticks.
What?
So sick, just with me. It's so good. Oh,
I
fun.
love
So
the British swagger in the chorus on this one as well.
Yeah, I remember sort of like we were thinking a little bit in the Oasis vein for this one with just those big
Bands in
open
this
like
vein.
like the sunshine. I could just hear
Yeah.
that Liam thing right there.
It's cool though.
It
turned out
works.
great.
It's just like, again, I think it's nice to have those big anthemic moments, and it just feels, even though it's a wordy chorus, it feels very sing-alongable to me.
It is, and I sing along like even the kind of improvised melody in the third chorus, like those, those changes are still kind of so hooky and so
Yep.
memorable.
You
that
look
they could
forward
be
to
in
them every time.
chorus. Yeah,
I think that was a large part on you, Phil. I feel like you really pushed me on this song. I remember kind of not being very sure of myself as I was writing this one, and I think you played a massive role in being like, no, that's good, that's not good, that part's good.
it was very rarely not good. It was all really natural. This one.
No, but it was
so
good.
cool.
You kind of came in with the right reassurance that I needed at the time to kind of like get it there. And
I really love
melodic
the
sensibility. I think one of the things that I love about having Phil in the studio, I'm gonna like just blow smoke for a second here, is that like you can be in the next room making coffee or doing something completely different, and like you'll hear me do a take or like you'll hear something play back, and you'll just be like, "What if it was this?"
Yeah, I always imagine at the
Every
kitchen
time.
table eating while he's doing it.
Or Phil was the curry cook.
Always
He
eating.
would make
Yeah.
curries for us in Palm Springs, and yeah, it was just always like, "What if it was this?" And
Or you just hear, dope.
Yeah.
every single time, the suggestion and the feedback was like exactly what the song needed in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and the meals ended up great as well.
And the curry was delicious.
Yeah.
Phil, wow, that's really Phil, wow, that's really nice, really nice. The part, no, there's curry. You got to come over here. It's really lovely.
Once
You got-
again, I can't write a good song unless I have the odor of cumin.
Human, no.
Damn it, this joke's not going to land because.
Yeah, well, that was a callback, but whatever. I like the Oz, the little falling Oz in the last chorus, I think.
Yeah, those are nice.
yeah.
Is it only the last chorus those happen?
Ryan, do they mimic like the plucks in a way?
No. They just kind of fall. They're
Oh,
similar.
that's me,
notes.
man.
They're similar notes.
Oh, that's pretty, man.
That's one of my favorite counter melody harmonies because the one kind of drops, hiding in your room. You get sort of this transitional moment. It's nice.
Can we also look at if we look at the memory markers up top, like post chorus, and then just stop?
I don't know why that says that.
For the dry January gloom, I love how dry that is at the end
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
it's so good.
Save me from this January gloom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of switches back to that verse vocal treatment. Well, that brings us to Clumsy, which was maybe called Let You Down at one point, but we settled on Clumsy. Working title of Push It Daddy. Yep. This is a quintessential, I would say, all-time low song on the record. A very important one. Got to have that sort of like Four on the Floor feel, a little bit disco vibe meets pop rock.
But usually our songs in this vein are a little bit more upbeat, lyrically speaking. You know, and they're not as self-reflective or whatever, remorseful as this one is. It's a nice juxtaposition, if you will.
This one came, again, early on in the process. I think we worked off a demo that Phil created. And what I love about this one is, again, it's got those like sort of stabby guitars, but a very open and big feeling drum beat. So it kind of, speaking to what Zach spoke to with January Gloom, it's like it stays very open throughout a lot of the song. There's a lot of space to work in, and it lets the vocal melody kind of sit pretty in that chorus. And yeah,
the bridge actually has some cool like synths and keys going on, as well, like different things going on, which I thought is very interesting as well. And also like the bass, I remember like hearing it back, and I was like, when Ryan sent this to me to practice, I was like, what the heck is going on here? Zach Cervini magic going on.
We should definitely just put a PSA regarding some of my naming of tracks in there. There's a chorus piano, which I love, which Jimmy Eat World always do, and I do it quite a lot, but I'm quite lazy with my labeling. So if we could just be aware that Jew piano means Jimmy Eat World piano.
Yep, fair.
Is it just blink, 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 blink?
Yeah.
Yep. That is very
So the
Jimmy.
piano's not Jewish then?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you play that yourself?
It sounds like...
What else? What is this bridge? Can we hear the bridge real quick? I kind of forget. Oh, the cool fucking
In the desert, I'll take
yeah.
it.
Oh, that's a
Loopy-
great bridge.
Loopy feel. Yeah, I love some of this actually.
Filter open up here.
Some bass chords.
What's that guitar part? The guitar?
Yeah, the little pick guitar is cool. Another flange drum fill, which
Yeah.
so into.
Flange drum fill. Let's go.
Yeah.
What's doing the pulsing in that? Like it's like either reverse or tremolating. Maybe it's evolving pad as I'm seeing there. But there's something in that bridge that was really cool. Oh, there it is. Maybe tremolo guitar. No, that's what I was. Yeah.
This is maybe one of my favorite sounds on the whole record because it reminds me a lot of something Imogen Heap would have done. Those little stabby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's
Not the
sick.
guitar, the other.
I didn't write that guitar part, but that sounds like a guitar part I'd write.
Mhm.
Dun, 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 dun,
Taking credit while also admitting he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not going to say that that's me, but
But that sounds like something I would
sounds like
do.
something I
so.
would have done. So
And then
So
is that
I
we
kind of
wrote for this.
influenced it.
was that guitar lead that's in the chorus. It's kind of like the counter melody. I feel like that's what started this song off.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like this was one of those songs that we wrote the chorus without any vocal melody, and I was kind of just writing lead guitar, which is usually not what you should do, but I feel like we actually wrote the vocal melody after the answer line. Different.
it's very like Top Gun.
Well, you know me. Always a good.
So 80s.
It is kind of an 80s vibe. Like it has sort of that like very new wave, like Miami neon feel. That guitar.
Oh, like the Midnight?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much like something like in the vein of the Midnight.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can see it's got like arpeggiated like parts throughout, which give it all that vibe.
Yeah.
What is this
love-
here?
The acoustics, but I listened to this today.
This is in this song?
Yeah,
Where? What's
Can we
the-
boost
chorus,
that
the
and then
chorus.
hear context?
I'm
chorus.
the piano.
Can we just hear the chorus but with just those playing? Because it's hilarious. Oh, Oh, nice.
And does the piano
Nice.
mirror it?
Yeah. Piano's right.
So
in that
buried.
band.
But it adds there's something to it that
Yeah, it's nice.
I love the piano.
That sounds like swank piano.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yes, for sure.
And then one of my favorite parts on the record, and my brother, his first time hearing it, my brother's not a musician at all. He's pretty stupid when it comes to music. He goes, oh man, halftime in the last chorus of Clumsy or something like that. And I was like,
Yes.
yeah, that's my favorite part when we go from that 4 on the floor to the halftime feel in chorus 3.
Oh
I think.
yeah. Goes to 5.
Ooh, low guitars.
So sick.
And then the lead.
Ooh.
That was a really cool guitar part coming into
Yeah, the
that
guitar parts.
when we go
Yeah,
back to
that's
4 on
dope.
the floor.
Just follow the melody.
Yeah.
It's that hook. It's called hook mirror.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this one.
It's
That's sick.
haunting.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things that was said about this song too was kind of like after the fact when we were sitting down talking and reflecting on all the songs, Zach, I believe it was you that said like this song felt like of all the songs on the record, it could have fit on like sort of any All-Time Low album, which I think was a really cool sort of sentiment in that obviously it still fits in the landscape and the context of this record, but I do think that this song is very quintessentially like All-Time Low. Like if you look at what All-Time Low has done from record to record, I would say that, yeah, this album does feel like it could sort of fit in any of the eras.
Especially going halftime in the last chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it reminded me of like Runaways or like Forget About It, like in like all these different songs that you could kind of compare them to, but like this is just like a lifted version of all of them, in my opinion.
For sure.
I love that we say, I think we fought over it a bit, saving us. Oh, I think they used to be in every chorus.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It was a
Yeah.
good
And then we
call
were
to
like, oh,
save
let's
them.
just save it. And the payoff's so good at the end for them.
The Bon Jovi moment.
Yeah, it is just a little.
It is a nice, like, it's a nice thing that we ended up saving because once again, with a chorus like this where it's sort of, 4 on the floor and that feel can get a little bit repetitive, it's cool to have one little trick in your back pocket to like, again, add that new bit of information for the listener's brain.
Does the
Into
final?
verse 2 is so good too.
Oh yeah, I remember trying to find that kind of like affected fill idea, FILL, not you, going into that verse. Like, we couldn't quite find how we wanted to transition there. I don't remember. Check out just that, I think. Breakbeat, there it is.
In that rest, yeah.
Whoa,
That's so sick,
the reverse fill. Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just remembered, but the other thing I love about this song is the weird voicings of the chords. If we just go to that opening riff in the beginning of the song, and then the way it stacks, I think in verse 2, there's like a really interesting voicing that is not necessarily.
There it is.
Is it the second verse? Am I crazy?
You are crazy, man.
Yeah.
I like you, man. This is great.
Is that a dart in your neck?
Oh yeah, that having that note in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there. It just kind of makes this like fat wall of guitars, and it's nice.
The final version of this, did we close is the outro of this song have like the fomented affected vocals?
Turn the desert. It goes back
It's
to that.
sort of a
It's
loopy
sick.
version of the bridge.
Yeah.
And that's the same trick we did at the end of Afterglow on our last.
That's what I was gonna say.
A lot
Yeah.
of people were like, "Who's that singing?" And it's just a little bit of.
Is that Jack?
Surprise, it's Alex.
Is that what Keith
Oh,
sounds like?
I don't. Jeez.
Jack sounds like a fat owl when he sings.
Yeah, I think the arrangement's really cool on this song too. How like the first chorus is half the length and the second chorus is double the length. And then the third chorus is the same length as the second chorus, but with alternate melodies and the halftime and everything and stuff. So it just keeps it interesting the whole time.
For sure.
And I'm just this is pretty much everything I love about a song. I'm a huge fan of 4 on the floor things. Anytime it's 4 on the floor, I'm in.
I love
4 on the floor.
Nice.
You also
It's
let it shift up a little bit, Cervini. I remember talking when we were recording drums for this of the little extra hits every now and again in the chorus, just to kind of like push it along a little bit so it
Yeah.
doesn't get too repetitive. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I was gonna
big
say a
interest
4
here.
on the floor song is hard to pull off because it can be a little bit like, even though it's a very obvious it's just a head nodder and they usually work. It can also feel a little bit lazy because
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
if the song isn't well constructed around the beat, it can just get very repetitive. And
Yeah, because it always works. It's just
Right.
not. Yeah.
and I think with our powers combined, it's gonna work okay.
The leads in the chorus, like the answer leads, is what I think in this song help a lot.
Yeah.
It was the melody for me. I remember we had this as, like you said, as just the instrumental for a minute first. And it was just kind of like sitting in a pile. And I was a bit like, I remember having a lot of fun when we started that. And then I think it was like maybe a week after we'd kind of first made it, you were like, oh, I've got a melody. And then I remember listening to it in the car on the way back. And I was like, oh, thank God that we got to use that. Because that vocal melody just lifted it and brought a new life to it all again. Because like you said, it's so easy for that 4 to the floor to just be like,
Yeah, and I think this might have been another one where I was sort of like ad-libbing a melody, just kind of going, and I want to say that I don't think I even meant to say I've been clumsy, but I kind of sang something that sounded like me saying, I've been clumsy with you, son. And you were like, you've been clumsy with what? That's a really interesting thing. And the lyric kind of stemmed from that. You just being like, wait, pause on that moment for a second and think through it. And it very much opened up.
Let me put down this curry. We can go for the
I love it. Phil just like in the control room with a vat, like ladling into people's mouths.
My favorite fill is on this record or this song and record.
Hey,
too.
up.
But it's in the last chorus with you figured me out. It's like it like haunts me when I play it because I always get it wrong. Even if it's like 4 notes, but just the way it follows the vocals.
The timing's kind of weird on it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Right there.
That one, yeah.
It starts like an eighth later than you want it to. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
normally it would.
Oh, that's
So
so
sick.
sick. Can we hear
yeah.
that soloed out and then hear
Yeah.
or just the drums and bass or something?
And put it with the vocal too. 'cause
Drum
it'll
bass
make a little more
vocal.
sense.
Dun, 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 dun. That's a cool feel. It's like a doorbell tone. Dun, 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 dun.
That's secretly how I play bass. I just listen to different doorbell
Jingles?
tones. Jingles.
Sir, we've
Jingles
sold you
dot com.
all our doorbells. We have no more.
So
Oh, good. That's a great one.
Mhm.
I love the way that plays off the vocal too. All right, so up next we got Glitter and Crimson.
This is the what we could call the Lighters in the Air song, maybe.
I would say that. And what was interesting about this song is it was recorded basically as a song that we felt was missing. Like we were chasing after this exact song at the end of the process. We had finished up the record pretty much, and we kind of decided that we were just like missing a couple little vibes. And this was very much the one that when we, me, Jack, Andrew, and Zach went up to Big Bear for a long weekend together. It feels cheesy to say that. Like it's always kind of lame to like acknowledge we need that Lighters in the Air song.
Yeah, but as soon as you
we
said,
wanted a slower jam.
Yeah, we just didn't have that feel. It kind of went through a few different iterations. I remember rewriting the chorus a couple times over the few days that we were there. But it just it worked out.
where did the verse drum loop come from? Was that a Goldstein, a Cervini library?
I remember these sessions being a lot of fun because, like you said, we had the 2 live setups and they were very close to one another, which you don't usually do because then ideas start interfering. But like we would start recording in a guitar line or a feel or an acoustic guitar or something like that. And like Andrew would kind of walk off for a minute and like all of a sudden play a program beat that he'd been working on, and it would just like fit underneath. And we had 2 live sessions going at the same time that were making the same song. And then eventually when something really worked, we'd combine them. We didn't settle on the chorus of this song for a while. I feel like Andrew kind of came up with this guitar lick that was really simple but signature. And then we built it out from the intro and the verse. I remember like the drum loop being sort of the central focus for a long time, but then it sort of like the chorus, kind of like Sleeping In, the chorus kind of was a late addition where we went, let's go somewhere different and let's go to that big open strummed acoustic feel instead of going big anthemic chorus with it.
Which is showing some restraint, because by that second chorus, you definitely want it to hit you in the face.
Yeah.
Classic ATL first chorus being a down chorus. Let's go.
Exactly. Don't do it. It worked out though. It was, like I said, it ended up being sort of the perfect fit. And I think 2 of my favorite things about this song also is the bridge and how the production in the bridge just fully shifts away from the rest of the song, but in a way, again, that works.
Musically, it wasn't there. You were just like, what if it just came in and what if I just started singing this? And you just started kind of singing it. You're like, da 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 da. You're like yelling. We're like, oh shit. Like no one's head was going like, oh, this bridge should open up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we were really thinking that. So
I think that stemmed from the fact that we decided not to do an up chorus. And you know what I mean? And at that point in the song, we had not fully like launched into any big moment. And rather than, I think, doing the big, okay, let's make the last chorus the moment the song finally pays off and gets big, we said like, what if we just threw the curveball, and the bridge is where it suddenly broke out into this new feeling. So yeah, it's
like the big bridge, the big bridge moment where it kind of explodes and then it sets up the last chorus, I think was the vibe we were trying to get.
Exactly.
Which is kind of like, especially in a song like this, is kind of tricky to do, because if your first big moment is the bridge, then it's tough sometimes to have the last chorus kind of overtake that. Because you want the last chorus to feel the biggest part, but I think just because of the openness of it all and the melody, it really does bring you back in.
Real quick, can we jump back to the verses, maybe verse 2, and kind of look at the some of the guitar stuff that's going on there? There's some really cool layered leads.
Yeah, we have this on the left here.
So this was that riff I was talking about that Andrew was kind of jamming on the couch, and it almost felt like it should have been like a bass line, but we left it on guitar and it just felt very signature.
Mm-hmm. And then on the right, on the right side we have acoustic.
And that is one of my favorite aspects of this whole song, is that really nice textural acoustic that rides through a lot of the song and really carries it. It sort of fills out that mid space. And it's just, it feels nice and wide and bright.
Halfway through, we bring in this other guy.
Yeah.
That's what you were talking about.
Yeah, this is such a simple riff, but it's one of those like riffs that really like almost subconsciously elevates the moment. And I really like peppering those kinds of riffs in on songs.
I think there's I think if we ended up using it, I could be wrong here. We can always cut this. I'm pretty sure verse 2, we brought in like in mono or some kind of overhead on actual drums to go over top that loop.
Yes,
yeah, we did. Okay, good. Yeah, which I think is it's so subtle, but
here it is.
It's just a cool little lift for verse 2.
Is there a way that we can hear the loop like without it, and then how this comes in on the second verse to just build on it with the mono loop so we can hear the difference?
Yeah, so here's the main loop. It's 2 things. I think it's like an easy drummer thing, then it just looks like we put a kick with it.
Just to fill it
Such a sick loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the main loop, and then in verse 2 we brought in this.
That's a cool sound.
Yeah, just a blown out room mic.
So that's just the room mic?
Yeah, just one mono room mic. That's cool.
And when you combine the two, can we hear how they sound combined?
Yeah.
Just grits it up for that verse too.
Yeah.
It's real nice.
That's sick.
I really like the syncopation of the tom hits in that too, like the do-da, do-da.
It's like the would you reference a little bit there, like My Hero a little bit, just with the
Yeah.
weird
Yeah.
I was kind of imagining
Yeah.
the two drum kits playing separately vibe.
That's one of those songs where we talked about before, where like you hear especially those chorus 2 and then into bridge and then chorus 3, where all you want to do is play it live and like see the fan reaction and see like you said, like the letters in the air. So that's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
remember when Alex was writing and recording the bridge, it was the last thing you recorded for the whole record because you're like, oh, I'm going to blow my fucking voice out on this. So I'm just going to, so we're not going to be writing anything else after this because I'm just going to go for it. And you were just on the couch, just like, just screaming.
It's a tough bridge because it's just, especially with the rest of the song being pretty mellow in my vocal range. And then the chorus is just out of nowhere, like all of a sudden top of my register, and also like asking for an emotional performance and like a kind of an angry performance based on, you know, sort of the subject matter in the song. It was like, yeah, I knew that was going to be a moment that I probably wasn't going to come back from that day.
You can hear the emotion in it. It's cool.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite bridges on the record. I feel like that moment is really cool, really special, and catches you off guard, which I think this deep into an album, when you're listening front to back, it's nice to have a moment like that to be like, oh, I was definitely not expecting things to go there. Andrew, any memories of this one that stand out to you?
I think there was a moment we were triggering, or we were trying to kind of capture, like we were thinking about Third Eye Blind in that bridge, kind of sort of like a yelly thing that kind of is.
Yeah, it kind of was that like, could
removal.
I graduate? Like we wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
And some of the guitar work, I think, kind of reflects that influence there. And then obviously tying it back into making it the sound you guys,
for sure.
especially with that last chorus kind of rocking out.
Yeah, I remember referencing Third Eye Blind a little bit on this one, and just how much I like when we toured with them a little bit, how much I love the way the songs connected live, and sort of feeling like we hadn't really done that in our career. Like we didn't have a song that felt quite like this. Yeah, can we hear that bridge just for
Yep.
shits and
Yeah.
gigs since we're there?
Especially
Dude,
the guitar
let's
riff that comes in, that climbs with the guitars.
Yeah,
Kind of really
adds to the tension.
ramps it.
And you're my four-leaf clover.
Also starting on the same chord.
No compromise and no sacrifices, no stopping now. This weight on my chest. I won't settle down, won't settle for less. I won't settle for less. I won't settle for less. I don't wanna wait till the sun.
We got to solo out Alex's voice in that. Just fucking hear
do
the
it. Here we
bridge. It's
go.
fucking sick.
No compromise and no second best. There's no stopping now. This weight on my chest. I won't settle down, won't settle for less. I won't settle for less. I won't settle for less.
Yeah.
Sick.
Nice.
Sick.
That's
dope.
I have a video on my phone of you recording that. It's pretty fucking pretty good there.
I can only imagine what the neighbors thought, because we were in this like
Yeah.
small cabin in the woods in Big Bear, and we were surrounded
Yeah.
by other houses. They were probably like, what the fuck is going on?
It's like Airbnb rentals of people on vacation, and we're just screaming.
And I actually love how that transitions into the chorus. Like you said, right, even though it's an up chorus and we finally play it out, it's still smaller than the bridge feel-wise, which is interesting. But when it feels like it drops back down, it almost feels like the needed release after that intense bridge. It's like, oh God, thank God we're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Another thing that helps there too is that in the bridge, it's just your pretty much just your lead vocal with a little double in there. So just so it's like the most emotional it could be, and like it's pretty like exposed. And then when we go to the last chorus, we bring in harmonies and other vocal layers and stuff too. So that kind of helps transition them a little bit. Another thing I remember about this is when we were working on it, and Alex was like, or it was Alex or Andrew, someone was like, what if the chorus just like was super long and just like kept going? And at the time it kind of made no sense at all. And then Alex just sang
we were
this-
playing
Yeah.
Yeah.
we were playing the chord progression,
Yeah.
and we were saying, I was like, oh, is that too long? And Alex was like, no, just like play the whole chord progression all the way through, and the chorus will just keep going. But
Yeah.
because the way the lyrics and melody are, it like lines up at the end, so it feels like one solid unit.
Yeah, but
versus,
there's
like, a-
actually the formula on this chorus is weird because we never really repeat any of the lines or anything that you would think would come back in a chorus. It's 2 2 2 2 2, I think. It's like, I don't want to wait for the sunshine phase. Our love in a shallow grave. Then the melody changes again because the world could be cruel to us, or we could live for the dangerous. So, and then let's start a riot. Hard to sit still when your head's on fire. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So another two-parter, and then because you're a supernova. Yeah, so it's 2-2-2-2, and it's just a weird formula for like a chorus structure. It's just enough times. It's enough repetition of each melody to kind of get it, but it's enough new information to make it feel interesting, which was fun. And again, when you're at that point in a record, when you've written a billion songs and you've done a billion different combinations of choruses, verses, melodies, things like that, it's kind of fun to like play around with that. And sometimes it really ends up being magic. So that's Glittering Crimson. Summer Days, Seasons Part 2, a feel-good jam, a song that we wrote along with Glittering Crimson in Big Bear towards the end of the writing for this album. Last minute addition, very necessary song.
Was there a discussion during the process or early on in the process, like you said, for Glittering Crimson, you needed that kind of more soaring Letters in the Air song? Was there a discussion as to what gap this was filling, or was it just kind of like what felt right?
To be honest with this one, no. It kind of just, this was the song that we kind of just wrote in that session, and it just felt so good. It felt like we beat some of the other stuff that we had. I remember towards the end of the writing process, there were maybe like 4 songs that were all sort of in contention for that sort of final spot on the album. Some of which did not make the record, obviously, but I feel like then we wrote this one and it just kind of very clearly blew all those out of the water. So it was like, oh, hell yeah. Like we got that song that we wanted to finish the album up with. And it's so nice when you have those moments, because obviously those other 4 songs, they were in the running and there were some great ideas out there. But when you write that one that clearly beats those, it reaffirms your doubts about those other ones. And you suddenly, oh, it's a good thing we did this, because otherwise we would have settled. And it makes me happy that we didn't settle, because this is, again, another one of my favorites on this album. I kind of feel like this is maybe the like sister song to Getaway Green. I like the vibes. I kind of feel like it's a callback to the top of the record, which is nice. Kind of lets you round out the sound of the album with one more like banger in that vein. And yeah, in this one's really interesting. There's a couple cool twists and turns on this one. The bridge, which I'm sure some people have picked up on and pointed out, the bridge melody is lifted straight from a Used song. And when I reached out to Bert to let him know that I had pretty much like ripped his probably most signature melody from their most popular song, Bert was the sweetest dude about it and was like, yeah, fuck yeah, you guys can use it, which was very, very sweet. And I sort of explained to him that like the song, the subject matter in the song was me recalling these feelings that I was going back to at a time when I was listening to that song, The Taste of Ink by The Used. So it's like kind of coming from a place in my past where that melody would have been in my head a lot. And
which is funny because we used to literally like go on your roof in summers and listen to that song, which is like so weird, but it's exactly what you're referencing.
Yeah.
Even hear me. That melody is in the bridge. Even when you're gone, I know I've heard my favorite song. I know. And that favorite song in the lyric is referring to sort of that Taste of Ink vibe.
You know, it'd be a great move is if like we never actually told Bert about this, but we just kept perpetuating this. Like we kept saying like, yeah, when I reached out to Bert.
Oh, so nice that Bert did that.
To the point where he's like, I guess, I don't remember this.
4 or 5 years down the line, he's like, I guess I must have said something.
I must have gave him the okay.
Yeah.
Inception.
Yeah. Can we hear that melody real quick? Just to show everyone what we're talking about.
So yeah,
Ghost in the City again.
Yeah.
That just reminded me. Initially, Alex, when we were working on the bridge, we were just doing that repetition line, and we didn't till later, till you came in. You're like, let's sing something over that. Like, I need something more.
Yeah, it was the small, the never know if you don't try, and then that, I was like, we can loop that as many times as we want, but it's like it doesn't go many places. It doesn't. Yeah, it felt like it needed another lift. And then yeah, that idea kind of popped into my head of like paying homage to a song and a time and a place that I was sort of reflecting on in the lyrics of this song.
Yeah, that bridge is so sick.
Very glad
Yeah,
that
that's
if Bert had said no, we would have been in a predicament because by the time we reached out, the record was done. So thanks, Bert.
It might have been mixed.
You would just have to mute it. Yeah, 20 seconds of silence.
Yeah. I remember this song. Andrew and I were kind of jamming in the kitchen, and I had just got a super badass fuzz pedal. That's actually what it's called. Shipped Amazon Prime to our Big Bear Airbnb so that I could use it on this song. And Andrew and I were jamming, and Alex was in the kitchen making chili. And then literally and we're jamming, and Alex is making chili in between us, and then Alex just started singing the chorus, and I was like, that sounds like any great song.
Alex does his best work when he's making chili.
We've already said
for
that.
Kevin from The Office.
All my best songs were written during a chili cook-off.
So the fuzz pedal was in the intro here. This first guitar.
It's on this main riff thing.
Oh yeah.
That's a meaty. That's a really fun riff to play too. I like that it kind of transitions between power chord and like a little ditty. And I think one of my favorite things in this song too is the juxtaposition between that super fuzzed out riffy guitar and then the really like jangly, trebly, like the little call and answer guitars that are going on there.
It's so cool.
They play off each other really nicely.
And that kind of continues out as that jangle throughout the song too, or anytime that riff happens.
And then, one more thing I have to give a shout out to Zach Merrick on this song, actually, because he
I was gonna say
killed it on the bass as usual, but in the
that doesn't sound like him.
No, it doesn't sound like me at all. Huh?
He's usually playing root notes only.
Whole note root notes.
But
they yell at me if I don't play root notes only.
But yeah, his bass parts in this song, he played on this song after we wrote it, and it for me it completed the song to me.
100%.
His bass parts, yeah.
Which is actually one of my favorite things about making music in this band, I think, is that the way we write, a lot of the time we structure the song with like its simplest parts. And then like I sort of love the day that Zach comes in and lays in bass because it always takes the song to like this incredible new.
You kind of get to a point of like counting on it too. You're like, okay, you know what? They'll fix that. They'll take that where it needs to go.
Well, and sometimes too, it's fun to be like, I think it should change here into this, and like I can send it back to you guys and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense to go to this resolve. It's like just little things like peppered in where it's like makes it a little better.
This is one of those that the last chorus 3B, like into that intro part is, for me and Zach, I think will be one of the best parts that when we end up playing it live. Just the energy kind of like ticks up just a little bit before hitting that outro. And it's going to be very fun.
Let's hear some of that bass.
Let's hear that rhythm section.
It's double hit. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. That's
What is
You know
that?
what? That's a rhythm section having a good time.
That's, you know what? We're just smoking a cigarette, having some fun, man.
Cruising on out.
What makes up those little vocal hook thingies in that outro and intro? Is it just vocals or is it?
It's a local bird that we found in Big Bear.
Yeah.
And managed to record.
Which was not harmed in the making of the.
So yeah, this sounds like this is Alex's voice just pitched around a little bit. This one right here. And then
I feel like we did a lot of kind of vocal pitch hook stuff on this record. There's like a lot of moments on the album that it just takes, I would sing a very basic hook, but then by, changing the inflection or the tone of it, we could make it sound kind of like an unusual either synth or just instrumental hook. And that stuff is always fun because it's like really simple and fast to do. You can kind of like execute the idea really quickly, and it doesn't take a whole lot to then make it sound like something that's not just a vocal.
Synthy,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, here's an example of that. Here's this one.
Yeah.
And then without the effects, it's like
Wow.
Yeah, but like obviously in the context of the song, if it was just me going it'd be kind of lame.
Yeah.
So, like, it ends up being like a really
Put
rad.
a little altar boy on it.
little altar boy. Actually, a lot of.
That's a lot of little altar boys.
That is all of the altar boy. That is an altar man.
That's an altar man. Damn.
That's
Altar granddaddy.
Mm-hmm.
Altar daddy.
I don't like that.
We got there.
We'll cut around that. We'll edit out altar daddy. And what was funny is with that song too, we also confirmed Sad Summer Fest right around the same time that we wrote a song saying Sad Summer Days. So it was like
We were really excited for that whole.
Yeah. Why didn't we do
I
that?
know, right?
2021. Here we come.
Here we come.
And finally, this brings us to the last song on the record, which right when we wrote this one, I feel like we all kind of knew that it was like a perfect song to close the record with. This is Basement Noise. And this writing process was kind of crazy because it came off the tail end of writing another song that didn't end up on the album. But Jack and I and Zach were working super late at Zach's studio. I think it must have been like 2 or 3 in the morning at this point. And like, we'd had a bit of a fight with the song that we were working on before it. And then we were like, or no, I'm sorry. We started this one first, then went off this song because it wasn't coming together, wrote a whole other song. And then we're like, fuck it. Let's open that other one back up and see if we can like piece it together. Props to Cervini for sticking it out and working with us on the song at 3 in the morning.
I feel like so much of the reason why we were there till 3 a.m. was because we just kept stacking more harmonies.
Yes. Yeah.
Just more and more harmonies to the outro.
Totally.
We had my friend Chris Griotti there with us as well. And
Yes, we did.
he's a harmony whiz as well.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Griotti, who could not join us for this, but he's a virtuoso on guitar and also an amazingly talented musician. And so his mind and the way it works with harmonies is just so fun.
What is this stack? Is it 3 and then like an octave?
I think it might be more than that. It might be like a 5-parter or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
We actually ended up stripping it down, I think, for the final song. Like when we originally did this song, I'm pretty sure the big stack of harmonies was on every chorus. And I think now it sort of builds throughout the song. But that last chorus, I'm fairly sure, is like slamming.
Just stupid boys making basement noise in the basement, noise in the basement. Just stupid boys making basement noise in the basement. Yeah, yeah.
There was an argument about whether we should keep the yeahs too throughout the song, but I think I like that we kept them.
Yeah.
It keeps
Yeah.
it feeling
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
It feels like off the cuff, it feels like,
Yeah.
like that was instinctively what I was doing.
What you were doing, yeah.
It just kind of feels a little bit more like when you have something that's as intentional as like a 5-part harmony, it kind of made it feel like there was a little bit of ad lib to it as well.
The bridge in this, just that like little lonely solo kind of feel is cool.
Yeah, I really like that this song was basically built off a tape drum loop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it kind of progressed from there and kept adding to it until it felt like a fully realized
Do you
song.
want to solo out the drum boy real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah, that drum loop was like pretty pivotal in this whole thing.
We basically would just loop this and just play different lead parts over it, try to get something that.
Yeah, that goes through the whole song. It's the same chord. The song literally came together in like an hour. I feel like it was like so quick.
Lyrically, it came pretty quick because Alex was like, we just started writing about starting the band in Ryan's basement, and we just literally, we just told the story of our girlfriends down the road coming over to listen to us play, and yeah.
I think it's like a perfect exploration and a deep dive into like the beginning of this band. And I think to be able to write that song, because we'd never really written this song before, but to write that song that's like autobiographical and talking about the way we all came together, it was really fitting that it was one of the first songs I think that Jack and I had sat down together for this record and written together. So it was nice to sort of reflect in that way. And on top of that,
this was pre-Nashville, right? Wasn't it?
No, I think
It was in
we had
between
done-
Nashville and Palm Desert.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
in between. Yeah, it was just, I think it's, I love the simplicity of it. I love that all this sort of like analog-y type sounds are, I think, like paying homage to Humble Beginnings kind of thing. Like it's all meant to sound a little bit like my first riff kind of musically, and it works really well to sort of serve as that narrative. And then it's the story of us growing up and getting on the road for the first time and like sort of making the dream a reality, which I think for any musician that started the way we started, any band that started the way we started, is like a really sort of important moment and an important thing to kind of rediscover.
Can I hear? Do you mind if I hear a bridge solo part with like the little loops behind it? I just want to hear that guitar tone, really, with some context of the loop might be nice.
We're getting vibey.
Oh, this is a fun part, actually.
Yeah, longing. It's a longing part.
So it's a cool guitar line, but also if you unmute the other affected part right there, I think I doubled that with a vocal, and then we blew it out like crazy. But what's cool about it is you can hear the breaths in between. So when they're together, there's just like a really interesting movement. But yeah, it's actually an octave.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really cool.
It sweetens up the gritty tone of the guitar, and somehow when you like kind of mash the three together, it just makes a really cool combination.
I've teared up listening to the song. Okay, I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah. I remember like we were in the studio and me, Alex, and Jack, we were like working on a song and we couldn't figure it out. And then Alex, just the chord progression of the song is like the most classic, chord progression.
Yep.
And Alex just started playing it and he was like, we haven't done one of these yet. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then we just got a loop going and got a couple instruments going, and I don't know, it came together so quick, and you could just feel that it was like a good one. Like when I woke up the next day and listened to it, you could just feel that it was like a magic moment.
Special.
I remember you texting me that next day just being like, dude, I think we got a special one here.
Yeah.
It was nice and reassuring.
Yeah, it's so cool that you guys can like reflect on the past like in a way like this so many years later. It's cool for you, and I think it's cool for your fans to see that.
It was crazy because it was like talking about things that like we haven't thought about in the longest time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Like how it's not, lyrically speaking, it's very on the nose to us. Like I'm not saying that. I mean, obviously bands and everyone can relate to it, but like the little details that you talk about, it's very. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, the girls from the next street are quite literally like, at the time, my girlfriend lived down the road from Ryan's house.
Yeah.
And like her and her friends would come over and they would literally just like watch us play and practice and be terrible for a couple hours after school.
And
like, that was
18 on 83, like shit like that.
For those who aren't familiar, 83 is like one of the main highways near where we all grew up. So it was like calling back to these very real memories for us, like getting out on the road for the first time and forming this band. And like Zach said, it is nice 15, 16 years into a career to kind of like reflect in a song like this.
Did your guys like parents hear this song or anything yet? Or did anyone's families?
I don't know if my parents know I'm in a band.
My mom and dad think this song is very sweet.
Yeah, my mom definitely has texted me about this song many times.
Yeah, my mom always says it reminds her of her in high school and like meeting my dad and things like that. So.
Oh, that's so rad. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I like when a song, like especially a song that is so autobiographical and so like close to us. It's kind of nice to hear a story like that where it's, obviously in a direct way, like nobody else could ever relate to the story being told in the song, but it's cool how it still sort of connects to memories for people like that. The track by track is complete. Thank you for diving in with us. For those watching at home, appreciate you, wanting to spend the time on this kind of thing. Like we did this because we were seeing more and more of you kind of calling for some different content like this. And I gotta say, it's been fun for us to do. So
and it's cool for us because these songs are written, or recorded over a year ago. So like just doing a dive in is. Yeah, we're also remembering some cool stuff too.
And learning new stuff about the songs.
Yeah.
Savini, thank you, man. You were a treat.
Thank you guys for having me, as always.
What if you just went?
for piloting the ship and for making this damn record with us.
Yeah. Who else we got? Phil Goldstein, Kevin
Swank,
Chris Griotti. It takes a. What is it? What's the phrase? It takes
a mountain to move a molehill.
There you have it.
See you guys.
Bye.